Hi, this is Mike Kirkpatrick again. I decided to make this short video where I give you some more information about how I became a believer in God, the steps that occurred in my life, my spiritual journey, and I'm not reading it, so let me begin by saying when I was about, I guess, 3 or 4, my parents lived across the street from a Presbyterian church, and I started going to Sunday school almost on a regular basis. I never told this to my parents at the time, but the Sunday school actually made me a disbeliever in God. Because one week they're talking about how loving and kind He is, and then next week they're talking about the wrath of God. It was like, it confused me. I remember walking home from Sunday school thinking, this doesn't make sense. Every other week He's a nice person, and the other weeks He's got to worry about being hurt by His wrath. It never made sense to me. And that's why I never became a believer. But the other thing that happened that caused me to become a disbeliever was the fact that they made me sing this song to the entire church congregation. It starts out 1, 2, 3, the devil's after me, 4, 5, 6, he's always playing tricks, etc. I said, when I got older, I said, that's really a sick thing to do to a little 4-year-old, to scare him that there's a devil chasing him. Is that what they need to do to get you to believe that Jesus is your Savior, is by scaring you, by making you think there's some devil hiding behind walls looking for you? Anyway, after going to Sunday school for like 4 or 5 years, my parents started backing off. They realized my brothers and I really didn't like going. So now we fast forward to like when I'm 30-some years old, or almost 40, all of a sudden I have all these problems happening at work, really super stress. It was unbelievable stress I was in at work, and I was also under stress in my personal life. And I didn't really want to get into that here because, in fairness to the other people who were involved, just let you know that I was in and day out stress and emotional pain for maybe almost a year, if not longer. Anyway, one day I talked to this girl that worked at Denny's who was very religious, and I was telling her about all these problems I had, and she said, you should put your faith in God. And I told her I don't believe in God. And in fact, I even went out and prayed at my brother's grave who had died in a boating accident, not because I believed in God, but as an act of desperation to help me with these problems that were never going away. Now, the next thing that happened is on Christmas Eve in 1985, I was leaving my sister-in-law's house, and everybody in the family was concerned about my status, my health. And I remember they were all saying, we're pulling for you, Mike, we're praying for you. I went home that night. It was Christmas Eve night, and around maybe 9 or 10 o'clock, I can't remember which, I'm lying in bed in pain like I had been doing for almost 2 years straight. And all of a sudden, I see this white cloud of smoke go rising up and away in front of me, and I see a mountain range greater than the Himalayas glistening in gold. In less than 2 seconds, I was 1,000% certain it was coming from God. And all the problems I had had all suddenly made sense why I was going through all these things. Anyway, the very next night, I go back to the same restaurant, and I'm sitting in the very chair where that waitress had told me several weeks ago, earlier, that I should put my faith in God. I'm lifting my fork, and right in the middle of lifting it, all of a sudden I hear this booming voice inside of my head. It sounded like my own thinking voice, but it was very loud. Hi, Mike, this is God. I almost fell off the chair. I couldn't believe it. As I started going home from the restaurant, this loud voice became much softer, but I knew it wasn't me talking to myself. I've never done that in my life. Anyway, as a result of that vision and being reinforced the next day by him talking to me, he started to reveal all these truths about the universe. And at some point, I can't remember when, but it was pretty early on, he told me he chose me just because I'm an ordinary person. Whoever was in my position would have the same exact problem, trying to convince people that he's telling the truth. The irony of all this is the fact that my father, I don't know why, well, I think I know why now, but he used to tell me, he must have said it to me 15, 20 times when I was a child. Mike, in the end, the truth always wins out. That was like my father's favorite quote. And he was a real straight shooter type person, very honest and decent. I think now, and I look back upon it, that was God giving me reinforcement from my father to be able to withstand all the problems I'm having with getting people to believe I'm telling the truth. I'll never give up on fighting for the truth because what my father said to me, which I think may have come from God. Anyway, that's basically how I got involved in starting to write the book. It took me 29 years, thousands of hours to write it in a way that could be easily understood by the average person. And that's why it's 18,000 words long compared to the Bible, which is 775,000. So if you buy the book, you'll find very quickly that you could read the whole book maybe in 2 hours. Actually, writing a book that's short is a heck of a lot harder than a long one. But my aim was to make sure as many people as possible would read the book and understand it. And I think if you read it, you'll agree with me. Anyway, thanks again for listening in on my second video. I just wanted to give a more personal view of why all this happened and how I got involved in this. If somebody told me back in Sunday school that someday I'd be writing this book, I would have had him committed to a mental hospital. It's the most absurd thing that's ever happened to me. Anyway, thanks for my support from Tommy, who's right there. You want to show yourself, Tom? Here, isn't he? Cute, isn't he? Now, he's one of the nicest persons I've ever known, if not the nicest. Anyway, thanks again, guys, for looking at it, and hope you buy the book. It would certainly be helpful for me with my relationship with Sebastian, so I can give him some money for school when he gets older. So God bless all you guys, and thanks again for looking at it.